Viewer discretion advised. A Georgia high school student goes missing and is later found dead, rolled up inside of a heavy gym mat. Authorities call it a freak accident. His family calls it something else. This is the story of Kendrick Johnson, a case that haunted me to my core. I won't even ask you if it was an accident because I don't believe that it was. Before I get into the full story here, I want to give you a little bit of a personal note and you'll understand in a minute. I am someone who believes in the miracles of God. I'm saved by Jesus, and I believe that God allows us to see things, hear things, the miracles, right? Around 2016, I had I could cry right now saying this. I had one of the worst dreams that I've ever had in my whole entire life. I had a dream about the case that we are talking about today. I had a dream where I was the person that did this. My point of view was the person that did this to Kendrick Johnson. I felt the fear, the guilt. I felt everything that was inside of the person that did this. In this case, I'm just going to let you know there is no clear-cut person that they have caught. But I have spoke directly with Kendrick's family on Facebook, and I don't have my Facebook profile that I used back in 2016, 2017. But after I had this dream, and I can remember it very well, very, very well to this day, a couple months later, for the first time ever, I saw this case on Facebook, and it was his family member that posted about it. And I messaged this woman and I said, I'm sorry if this is a bad time for you. I'm sorry if seems inappropriate. And I told her the whole entire nightmare that I had. I saw him in the mat before I even saw a post about this. I had no idea this was a case. And at that age, I was fresh out of high school. I probably wasn't watching the news, really anything. This case haunts me to my core. Haunts me. So just so you know that I feel very closely about this case and I have very strong opinions about it. The other ones that I do, I probably won't feel this much emotion towards. But without further ado, who was Kendrick Johnson? Before he became a national headline, Kendrick Johnson was a teenager with big dreams and a big heart. Known to friends and family as KJ, Kendrick was 17 years old, soft-spoken, respectful, and incredibly driven. He was the kind of young man who lit up a room without trying. Kendrick stood about 5'10", athletic, always in motion. He had an easy smile and a quiet confidence that made people feel at ease. Teachers described him as polite and focused. His classmates, they knew him as loyal, ride or die loyal, and someone who always stood up for others. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he had presence. His laugh was infectious. He was goofy with his younger siblings, protective of his older ones, and deeply respectful to his parents, Jackie and Kenneth Johnson. KJ had a deep love for sports, particularly football and basketball. On the field, he was a wide receiver, wearing number 23, like he was born for it. Off the field, he dreamed big, talking about going pro, maybe studying sports medicine if that didn't work out. His days were full. Early practices, late night homework, weekend traveling for games. He'd come home sweaty and exhausted, but he never complained. He wanted a better future, not just for himself, but for his family. He wasn't into trouble. He didn't roll around with bad people. He didn't party hard. Kendrick stayed focused. He was a good kid with goals. And that's what made what happened to him so hard to accept. When Kendrick didn't come home on January the 10th, 2013, it wasn't just a red flag, it was a siren. Jackie Johnson knew immediately this wasn't normal. Her son always checked in. Something was wrong. Unfortunately and tragically, Jackie was right. The disappearance. January 10th, 2013 was a typical Thursday. At his high school, the halls buzzed with the usual teenage chaos. Students catching up between classes, rushing to gym, preparing for the next big game. KJ had just returned from the holiday break. Diving back into his routine, he attended his morning classes, joked with a few friends, and was last seen heading toward the old gym, reportedly to retrieve a pair of shoes that he shared with another student before gym class. But after that, nothing. As the school day ended and students boarded buses, Kendrick never came home. Jackie Johnson immediately felt the alarm bells. Kendrick was never the type to disappear. He was responsible, predictable. He always checked in. That night, Jackie drove to the school and waited outside, hoping to catch a glimpse of him walking out the door. She stayed for hours, but there was no Kendrick. By morning, panic set in. The family filed a missing persons report, and the school permitted a search. That morning, at 10:30 a.m., a group of students entered the old gym and noticed something strange. One of the large vertical wrestling mats seemed out of place. What they found would absolutely haunt everyone in that gym. As they peered inside the rolled up mat, they saw a sock, then a leg, and finally the body of Kendrick Johnson, folded inside of the rolled up mat head first. Dead. In the middle of the school gym, surrounded by classmates and chaos. The crime scene. The crime scene was strange from the very beginning. Kendrick was found upside down, jammed inside the mat, with his head near the gym floor. His arms were pinned to the sides. His face was swollen and discolored, signs consistent with pooling blood and suffocation. Officials quickly offered an explanation. Kendrick had likely dropped his shoe inside the mat and climbed in headfirst to retrieve it. They believe he became stuck and unable to breathe or call for help. Died from positional asphyxia. Case closed. But for the Johnson family, and personally for me, this made no sense. Kendrick was over 5'10". The hole in the center of the mat was just 14 inches wide. And Kendrick was known to be afraid of very tight spaces. He wouldn't crawl into a rolled up mat, not like that. More disturbing, Kendrick's shoes, the ones that he supposedly was going to retrieve, they were found on top of his legs. There was also a pool of blood several feet away from the mat on the gym floor. Blood splattered. It was visible on a nearby wall. but there was no trail, no explanation for how it got there. No gloves were worn by many of the first responders. The mat was moved. The scene was contaminated. Then came the security footage. The high school had over 30 surveillance cameras, many of which pointed toward the old gym. But in a baffling twist, the exact hours during which Kendrick disappeared were either missing, glitched, or simply unavailable. How convenient. Footage that should have shown Kendrick entering the gym, gone. Footage that might have shown him come in or out, unavailable. According to investigators, the cameras were, quote, out of sync and had some overwritten data. For many, it was the first sign that something bigger might have been going on behind the scenes. The autopsy controversy. Shortly after his body was recovered, Kendrick's remains were taken for autopsy by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Their conclusion, quote, accidental death, positional asphyxia, no foul play. But the Johnson family couldn't rest. They hired a private pathologist, Dr. William Anderson, and in June 2013, Kendrick's body was exhumed for a second opinion. What Anderson found contradicted everything. The second autopsy revealed blunt force trauma to the right side of Kendrick's neck, a blow that would be consistent with being struck, not suffocated by a mat. Even more horrifying, when the body was open, Kendrick's internal organs were all gone, all of them. His brain, heart, lungs, replaced with crumpled newspaper. A funeral home representative claimed that this was a, quote, standard practice when organs are missing, and the original medical examiner had discarded them due to, quote, decomposition. But the GBI denied discarding the organs, and no formal record of what happened to them exists. The Johnson family was stunned. Why would the state's medical examiner remove Kendrick's organs without documenting it? Why wasn't this investigated? In their eyes, it wasn't just negligence. It was desecration, a cover-up. And if Kendrick had truly been murdered, then someone had gone to great lengths to erase this evidence. The suspects. As whispers of foul play grew louder, the Johnsons began naming names. One name surfaced again and again: Brian Bell, a fellow student and football player. Rumors swirled that Brian and Kendrick had been in an altercation months earlier. Brian's brother, Brandon, also attended the school. Their father, a former FBI agent. Go figure. The implication that Kendrick had been targeted, and that someone powerful might be helping to bury the truth. In 2015, the Johnsons filed a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit alleging that the Bell brothers and others lured Kendrick into the gym and killed him, and that law enforcement officials participated in a massive cover-up. But without hard evidence, the lawsuit was dismissed. The Bell family has repeatedly denied any involvement. They've called the allegations defamatory, and to this day, no criminal charges have ever been brought against them. Reopening the case. 8 years after Kendrick's death, the case was reopened. In March 2021, Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk reviewed over 17 boxes of FBI documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. After an extensive review, Sheriff Polk concluded again that Kendrick's death was a tragic accident. No crime, no suspects. But Kendrick's family still believed that they were being lied to. They alleged that key witnesses were ignored, evidence destroyed, and powerful figures protected. In 2023, Jackie and Kenneth Johnson continued to push for answers, holding rallies, filing petitions, and asking the Department of Justice to intervene. Their message was unwavering. Kendrick did not crawl into that mat. He was placed there, and they will not stop until the truth is known. Final thoughts. So, a young man goes to school on a random day and never comes home. His body is found in a position that absolutely and utterly defies logic. His organs are missing. Surveillance footage is missing. What happened to Kendrick Johnson is that he did not do this to himself. One thing is certain: until someone comes forward or new evidence emerges, Kendrick's family won't be able to rest or have justice for their son. And people really do want to know what happened to Kendrick Johnson. I personally believe that I don't know who did it, but it ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. So, again, I feel very strongly about this. The nightmare that I had, I'm telling you, it was traumatic. I told my friend about it because I had to vent to someone, and she has a baby of her own, and she just cried because it was that detailed and it was that sad. And then we found out what really happened. And there's some pictures of this case. I would really advise, unless you have a very strong stomach, to not look at these pictures. Unless you have doubts about you think he did it on accident. If you think he did it on accident, I want you to go look it up. I will not be adding those pictures into this video because I can barely look at them myself during editing. I think that the case should be reopened. I think that there should be, I don't know, but there needs to be justice for Kendrick Johnson, for sure. I don't know why God allowed me to have a dream about him, or feel what the person that did it was feeling, but I know in the bottom of my heart that whoever did it was not alone, and they felt every bit of guilt, shame, fear, all of it. I know they did because I felt it. I felt what they felt. So I will see you in the next one, guys. The next one, I won't feel so attached to it. I had to take some breaks during this one, get myself together, but all right. Bye.